I knew trouble had found me the moment 3 SUVs rolled up my dirt road like a private convoy. Engines snarled, gravel sprayed, and the lead vehicle door swung open before the wheels even stopped turning. And there she was, Karen Loxley, queen of fake authority, stepping out with a crisp binder hugged to her chest like it was the Constitution. But the real problem wasn't her. It was the 6 men who stepped out behind her. Not normal tough guys, not neighborhood troublemakers. These were the kind of men whose eyes never stopped scanning exits, the kind who walk like they've already imagined killing you twice. All 6 spread out across my front yard as if they were securing a perimeter. My canine, Tango, stiffened beside me, ears forward, a low growl rumbling through his chest. Karen raised her chin like a small-town dictator, crowned by her own delusions. "There he is," she snapped. "That's the man refusing to join my HOA." Her voice echoed off the pines. I leaned against the porch post, hands clean, shotgun leaning nearby. Not raised, not pointed, just present. The biggest thug stepped forward, cracking his neck. "Ma'am says you sign today, or we escort you off the property. Your choice." I didn't answer him. I only looked at Karen, because something was off about her today. Her smile wasn't smug, it was nervous. Her hands shook. She kept looking back at the SUVs like she was waiting for something, or someone. Tango suddenly barked, sharp and explosive. One of the thugs jumped back like his soul left his body. The others tensed. Karen forced a laugh. "Oh, don't mind that mutt. He's a certified canine, and he can tell when someone's hiding guns." The men froze. I could practically hear their pulses spike. Karen cleared her throat, fake confidence cracking. "You're on HOA land," she snapped, waving her binder. "This entire area falls under my authority now. You refuse to join, you're trespassing." I tilted my head. "That's funny, because according to the county map—" "Don't!" she screamed suddenly, voice shrill enough to make birds scatter from the trees. That reaction, that fear, she wasn't just nervous. She was hiding something big. Before I could press her, she marched to my gate and slammed a red paper on it. Eviction notice, effective immediately. Except the seal was wrong, the wording sloppy, and the signature looked traced. One of the thugs muttered, "Lady, this looks fake." "Shut up!" she hissed. Her desperation was dripping through the cracks now. Something bigger was happening behind the scenes. I smiled slowly. "You know," I tapped my phone, "the sheriff told me to call him next time you stepped foot on my land." Karen blinked. You called him?" "An hour ago." Sirens wailed in the distance. She spun toward the road, panic ripping across her face. No, he wasn't supposed to." But it was too late. A patrol car crested the hill, lights strobing red and blue across the pines. The thugs tensed, stepping back automatically. But it wasn't the sheriff who stepped out. It was his deputy, and the look on his face was colder than winter steel. He walked straight past the thugs, past Karen, past the fake notice, right up to me. "Sir, per your report, we found something." He held up a sealed envelope. Karen went white. The deputy turned to her. "Karen Loxley, we need to talk." One of the thugs whispered, "What did you get us into?" Karen's voice cracked, trembling, barely a whisper. Nothing I can't fix. He promised protection." She stopped. Too late. Everyone heard it. And for the first time since she arrived, I realized Karen wasn't the threat. Karen was the pawn. And whoever she thought was protecting her was someone powerful, someone dangerous, someone watching. And that someone had just been exposed. The deputy didn't waste a second. He opened the sealed envelope and pulled out a stack of papers thick enough to choke a shredder. The edges were stamped with county seals, real ones, not the cheap dollar store garbage Karen slapped on her fake notices. Karen staggered back as if hit. "No, that wasn't supposed to. He said he'd handle it." The deputy kept his eyes on her. "Karen Loxley, you've been distributing fraudulent HOA notices, collecting cash fines, filing forged liens, and attempting illegal property seizures." The words echoed through the trees. The thugs turned to her at once. "You told us this was legal," one said. "You said the county was backing you," another snapped. Karen grabbed her binder like it was a life raft. "It is legal," she insisted, flipping through it with trembling hands. "These are official documents. Look, look!" The deputy snatched the binder from her hands. He opened it, and every single page inside was blank, just white paper. Karen's breath hitched. No, that's not right. They were real. He gave them to me. Why are they blank? Why?" Because someone played her. Hard. Tango suddenly lunged toward the tree line, barking ferociously at something none of us could see. His hackle shot up. He paced, growling deep, tracking something or someone moving out there. The deputy turned to me. "You said you spotted unknown vehicles in the woods these past weeks?" I nodded. "Thermal signatures, too. Someone was watching, mapping, testing boundaries." Karen heard that and broke. "He said he'd handle everything. He said nobody would question the notices. He said if I controlled the homeowners, he'd handle the land." The deputy narrowed his eyes. "He?" Karen froze, realizing what she'd said. Too late. The deputy continued. "Karen, who's he?" She shook her head violently. "No, if I tell you, he'll come for me. You don't know who he is." "Then help us know," I said quietly. She didn't answer. Tears welled up instead. The deputy pulled out his radio. "Dispatch, send the sheriff. This may be bigger than—" A shot cracked through the trees, not from a gun, from a drone. A small, fast, military-style drone zipped overhead, scanned the scene with a red laser, then exploded into sparks as Tango leapt and snapped it out of the air like a bone. Everyone ducked. Karen screamed, "That was him! That was him! He's watching!" The deputy dragged her behind the squad car. The thugs panicked, hands in the air, eyes on the tree line. I scanned the woods, shotgun steady but lowered. Whoever was out there wasn't trying to kill us. They were sending a warning. Then my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. Turn around. My stomach tightened. I turned. A sleek black sedan I hadn't heard, hadn't seen, hadn't noticed, was parked behind the deputy's cruiser. And an older man in a tailored suit stepped out. Calm, unbothered, almost bored. Karen collapsed in terror. He came. He actually came." The man straightened his tie and smiled like he was greeting old friends. "Gentlemen," he said, voice smooth as oil, "I'm Council Director Malcolm Briggs, and I'm afraid you're all interfering with a county project." The deputy's face drained of color. I tightened my grip on the shotgun. Briggs placed his hands casually in his pockets. "Let's make this simple," he said softly. "This land is worth far more than you know, and I always get what I want." He leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "And trust me, you're in something far bigger than a fake HOA now." The woods went silent. The thugs backed up slowly. Karen collapsed against the squad car. And that's when Tango's ears shot up again, turning toward the woods, where more people were moving. A lot more. This wasn't harassment anymore. It was a takeover. And Briggs had just declared war. Briggs's men emerged from the tree line one by one. No noise, no wasted movement, each wearing black jackets with no badges, no identifiers, nothing. Ghosts. 8 of them, maybe more still hidden. The deputy stepped in front of me without hesitation. "Briggs, this is county jurisdiction. You have no authority here." Briggs smiled gently like a teacher correcting a child. "Oh, deputy, authority isn't granted, it's taken." His shadow men fanned out. Karen dropped to her knees, shaking. "You told me nobody would get hurt. You promised." Briggs didn't look at her. "I promise many things," he said softly, "mostly to people who aren't smart enough to realize when they're being used." Karen sobbed. Tango barked so violently the air vibrated. But then another sound cut through the woods. A low, deep hum. Headlights. Multiple. The deputy glanced at me. "You called the sheriff earlier?" "Right. Well, he's not coming alone." 3 patrol trucks roared up the road, mud spraying as they skidded to a stop. Doors opened, and out stepped Sheriff Dalton, a man who looked carved from the bedrock of this county. He took one look at Briggs and exhaled slowly. "Shoulda known. Everything rotten leads back to Malcolm Briggs." Briggs smirked. "Dalton, I thought they forced you into retirement. Turns out people still need me, especially when scum like you crawls out of its hole." Dalton stepped forward, hand resting near his holster. "You're interfering with a federal investigation, Briggs." Briggs blinked. "Federal?" Dalton pointed toward the woods, and that's when the trees lit up. Infrared beams, silent boots, black tactical gear. Federal agents stepped out, rifles lowered but ready. Briggs's mask cracked. You called them?" Dalton shook his head. "No, son, he did." He pointed at me. Briggs stared at me, stunned. I shrugged. 3 weeks ago, when I spotted drones and unmarked vehicles, I reported it. They've been watching ever since. The forest erupted with movement, feds circling Briggs's men like wolves around cornered prey. One of Briggs's mercenaries reached for a weapon. Tango launched, a streak of fur and fury. He clamped onto the man's arm and dragged him to the ground before he could even aim. Chaos exploded. Federal agents shouted commands. Dalton's deputies moved fast, cuffing Briggs's men with brutal efficiency. Karen screamed and curled into a ball. Briggs backed up, eyes wild, muttering, "No, no, this land was promised. He guaranteed." Dalton grabbed him by the collar. "Promised by who?" the sheriff demanded. Briggs only laughed, unhinged, defeated. "You'll never stop it. The corporate buyout, the land swap, the HOA takeovers, this was just phase 1. They'll come. They always do." Dalton tightened his grip. "Not in this county." Briggs was shoved into cuffs as agents hauled him toward a black truck. The thugs were already on their knees, hands bound, Tango watching them with a low, satisfied growl. Finally, Dalton turned to Karen. She shook violently, mascara streaked, hair wild. "Sheriff, I didn't know. I swear. I just wanted to feel important. I didn't mean—" Dalton cut her off. "You extorted half the county. You threatened families. You sent armed men to force a homeowner off his land." He leaned closer. "You're done, Karen." She sobbed as deputies cuffed her. Silence settled, the kind of silence only broken systems make when they finally collapse. Dalton walked up to me. "You're all right?" I nodded. He looked at Tango and grinned. "And that dog of yours, he's getting steak from me tonight." Tango wagged once, approval. Federal agents approached me next. "We'll need your full report, but for what it's worth, you likely prevented one hell of a land grab operation." "And stopped their test run," Dalton added. "They were planning to roll this scheme across the county." I looked at my property, the quiet trees, the yard where it all started. "I think all this began with a fake HOA." Dalton shook his head. "No, son. It began when the wrong people thought you were alone." He rested his hand on my shoulder. "You weren't." For the first time in a long while, the woods felt safe. The threat was gone. The conspiracy was shattered. Karen's fake empire was dust. And Briggs, once untouchable, was locked in the back of a black SUV, screaming about promises no one cared about anymore. Tango nudged my leg, tail wagging softly. I knelt, scratching behind his ears. "You did good, boy." As federal lights faded into the distance, Dalton spoke one last line. "This land is yours, and no one is ever taking it from you." And for the first time since this nightmare began, I believed it.
Every neighborhood has its secrets, and every Karen leaves her mark. If you love true HOA stories like this, make sure to watch more on our channel, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-life neighborhood drama. Thank you.